Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. I feel like I'm saying that a lot on every single episode because we tend to take some breaks here and there, but
finally, it is a time that we are back again.
After so many weeks, and it feels so good. Plenty of people have requested for us to get an episode out there before the playoffs, and here we are towards the end of the NFL season. It's getting pretty tight in certain areas, so definitely going to cover some things today, and we have a little fun segment as well that we're gonna go through later, for our last topic, and then we have the beautiful Skylar, vicious Skylar.
She's a multitasker.
Yeah. Well, without further ado,
here we go.
Inside of our man's new house.
Yes, change of scenery for y'all. Yeah, we my man took the drive up to see me, and it feels good. Be back here.
Hell yeah.
And then to do it, say I can do it at my house too.
Hell yeah.
So cheers to that, man.
So first cracking a cold one in the new crib. Let's do it. Cheers, buddy.
Too long since we've said that.
Very long. Shout out to Twisted Tea. We are not ready to fight anybody, so don't worry. Let me spill a little. So yeah, I mean we're back today. It's been an exciting NFL season, with just a lot of crazy things going on this season with injuries and teams that we've expected to do well that they haven't really panned out to do as well as we thought they would.
A lot of highs and lows, a lot of streakiness. There's teams that came out flat and are looking better now, and teams remember in the beginning, the Saints looked great, and
the Saints looked like that they were going to be one of the teams to contend with at the end of the season.
They look great, and that's the name of the game, right? Who's consistent?
Yep.
Who goes from
who's healthy?
Week 1 to week 18. Yep, and that's what we're going to dive into today. Basically starting with that because we got the week 16 games.
Week 16 games, and it's obviously fantasy playoffs as well. So definitely, keep this in mind when it comes to the discussion that we have today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's dive right in. So we have week 16 starting tomorrow on Saturday.
Yeah.
First game we have is Houston at Kansas City.
It's a good game to start the week.
It is.
Well, I guess Thursday, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
here. Yeah. For Saturday game, so I love that they're upon us now. And Netflix, are they? Did I say are they the ones that are streaming the game?
Netflix is streaming the game. Netflix is getting into the football industry now. I did see that they posted something today, talking about 2025 is going to be even bigger than better and whatnot. I can very much guarantee you that by 2026, you're probably going to see that Netflix bill jump up because of the fact that more NFL games are going to be on there. So It's unfortunate, but it's the name of the game. My YouTube TV bill went up just in time, right before the freaking playoffs started. I'm like, y'all are so annoying. But no, I mean, it's part of the times, with things changing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Houston at Kansas City. So with this game, we have Patrick Mahomes is going to be pretty much staying under center. He's going to be staying in the pocket the whole entire time because with that injury, that high ankle sprain, I'm actually shocked that they're playing him. I personally would have. I mean, I'm not the head coach, and there's a reason why I'm not the head coach, and there's a reason why I do what I do today, and not that. But personally, I think they have their division locked up. There's nothing that they're playing for right now besides probably the number 1 seed, which I don't know if there's any other team that's contending with them for the number 1 seed. So I would honestly, it's the last few weeks of the season, sit them. You have Carson that can go ahead and try to help you guys stay afloat for the remainder of the season. So I'm curious how this plays out tomorrow. The only reason why I would say Kansas City would win is honestly just because of home field advantage and weather. If weather plays in into their factor, I think all around though Houston is a stronger team. I think Houston has a defense that can be sneaky at times. They're not they're not the greatest, but they can be sneaky and they can contend with the best of them. I'm picking Houston. I think Houston's going to go into Kansas City. They are going to give them their second loss. Second?
Second loss.
Yeah, second loss. Damn,
yeah.
One loss this whole season. It's crazy. Second loss of the season. I think that will come. To Houston.
So to your point, Houston's a really good team, and I think that's a big reason why Mahomes playing.
Yeah.
I think that if it was a different opponent, maybe someone a little bit lower on the totem pole.
But do you agree though? Like who are they?
So they're playing for home field advantage because they do have Buffalo on their tail. So essentially, if they were to win this game, they'd lock it up. So I think that's their mindset. If they can just get through this, it's a home game. I don't necessarily disagree with you. If there is a question of doubt, if this is going to essentially hurt him in the long run, then they shouldn't be doing this because there's 2 more games that they can play. But if he's feeling good enough, he was participant of practice. It was kind of I feel like this happened before one time where it looked like it was just so detrimental.
Happened last year,
and then he just
thing.
Kept playing.
Same thing happened last year. He came back in and he was able to do what he's able to do. I mean, even when I think it was actually against Philly that he had a hurt ankle in the Super Bowl and he still beat us. So it's like it's Patrick Mahomes-esque. This is just all a part of the Mahomes script.
Yeah, no, it's the Mahomes
and they get
era.
Hollywood Brown back.
We're just in it.
they get Hollywood Brown back this weekend,
and that's why I have Kansas City winning for because of those reasons, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly what you said. Hobbled Mahomes, it's still able to win Super Bowls. They get reinforcements back with Hollywood Brown. Now Pacheco's going to be back a few weeks in a row now, so I think he gets a little more underway, and I think they get it done. I just think that Reed does his thing with coaching, and it's going to be a tight one. I think it's going to be how they've been all year, just win by the skin of their teeth.
Should be our first one. We're disagreeing. Going to the second game of the week that we have here. We have Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
Pivotal for each team.
You have a banged up, I should say, Pittsburgh team. Without George Pickens. I believe I heard T.J. Watt. There's a possibility that he might be playing. Mm-hmm. So that's crazy if he is, because I thought he was going to be out the whole entire season. But then you also have Rashad Bateman that's out on Baltimore side. Do I think that hurts them the most? No.
They can do.
I think that they can still,
their
compete.
Offense doesn't change that much.
Their offense doesn't really change that much. I think that they're going to be relying a lot on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Zay, I wish they used him a little bit more, but I don't know what's going on with the whole Zay Flowers-Lamar connection. It's not what it used to be. So hopefully there can be something that can come out of the whole this whole thing this weekend with Zay being their number one focus outside of Rashad Bateman over there. I have Baltimore winning this one.
Yeah.
And I'm mainly because of the fact that I think they're going to take advantage of, Pittsburgh obviously has their number. Pittsburgh is always they're always beating them, and I think Lamar also is going to get to the point where he's like, you know what, F it. If I need to run, I'm going to run. Mm-hmm. And I could very well see Lamar rushing for 100 yards in this game, based off of that factor. If he's going to trust his game and not focus on the critics of telling him you need to pass it more, Yeah. Screw that, dude. Play your game. If you can win it that way, do it.
Right.
But no, I have Baltimore winning. I think it's going to be a tight one, though. I do agree with you. It's going to be a tight one. I'm going to say with this one, I can see it very well being a 20-17 type of game.
That's funny. That's the score I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
2017. First half, very sloppy. Maybe they gain a little more traction in the second half. Some adjustments. I went back and forth on this.
Yeah.
Exactly that, right? Pittsburgh's hobbled. Do they have enough to go in there and get a win? Mm-hmm. I have them winning. One, because just Tomlin he does do a great job with neutralizing Lamar to the best that they can. You know, and there's games where Lamar doesn't look great when he plays them.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the type of game we're saying here, a 17-20 game, I think it's going to be sloppy, and then that's anyone's game, right? It's a coin flip. Is the weather going to be messy? That's interesting to know that too. But I think Pittsburgh had a really tough loss here versus Philly.
Yeah.
And I can see that being a loss that kind of brings them a little more together here. And I think they're going to be able to. I just can see them going into the trenches in Baltimore and kind of not losing two straight.
That would be big if they go down there and they win, because obviously that means that they would be taking they'd be winning
2-game lead on the division.
Yep.
They could maybe lock it up. I'm not sure because
I think they would lock it up because
they have the tiebreaker.
They have the tiebreaker. That would just be that division is just crazy.
If you're Pittsburgh, most important game of the year.
Real? Oh yeah.
Especially because you are hobbled, right? You have these key guys that you need back for the playoffs. So if you can get this win here, they might be able to rest some of these starters here so no one else goes down.
Yeah. Get it. All right. Detroit at Chicago. This one, I don't think we're going to be disagreeing on this one at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I got Detroit as well. I don't really have much to say. Detroit's just above everyone else in the league outside of Philly. I think that they're going to be the two teams to match up against each other. But the Detroit Lions, especially if Monty comes back, man, that team is.
Well, they were saying now he's going to rehab.
Yeah.
It's not season ending, so they got kicked in the face last week, and it's one of those things.
Dan Campbell's pissed. He wants to.
It was almost like a good thing for him. You know, I said that I think they needed to get another loss out of the way before we got to the playoffs. I think that was a great loss. I know it's like, what, a loss, a great loss, but I think they're gonna learn a lot from that, and I think this week they might put the pounding down on Chicago
for sure.
Easy one there.
Cleveland at Cincinnati. Gosh, she's amazing. I'm like so distracted because I just love petting her right now.
And she loves it.
Haven't seen her in forever, guys.
Yeah,
so it's like a reunion.
Reunited.
Cleveland at Cincinnati. Divisional game again.
Yep.
Either team doesn't really. They're not fighting for anything. Although Cincinnati's still in the hunt if they were to win out. They would need obviously like a lot of help going
to go their way.
Cincy's winning this one though. I mean they have T and Jamar healthy. I saw T was questionable, but he's fine now. So they're home. Joe Burrow does his thing, and I think Cleveland comes back down to earth with, especially because of the fact that Dorian Thompson is starting, and I think that was the wrong move. They should have stuck with Jameis.
The offense is he does have the turnovers need to be come down a little bit for Jameis, but he gives them the best offense. These receivers now, especially in fantasy, I mean, all those guys you've been playing the last few weeks, Judy, I know Tillman's been out a few weeks, but he was playing well. They're going to get a slate now, with this move here. I mean, Dorian's just not a Jameis. He's just not. He doesn't have an arm like that. He's more of a manager, going to get things done with his legs.
I guess they're going to be a lot.
I was going to say they're going to be run heavy with Jerome Ford because no Chubb. So,
Chubb? Do you think Chubb's career's done?
I think of who he was. The
amount of injuries he's had that's like been detrimental. It's been bad. I mean, like there needs to be a diagram.
That last one was brutal. The fact that he's even came back and had some splashes here this year, I think says a lot about his work ethic.
Right.
I think he has that on his side. I think this might be his. I think this might be his last year in Cleveland. But I think there's going to be another team that maybe takes a shot on him. Maybe the number 2 punch to someone's one. I don't know what team that'd be, but he was a great back in when he was healthy. Arguably, the best to the top 3.
You got to say hi to everybody if you're going to come in the middle.
Okay.
Say hi.
Okay.
Say hi.
You're disrupting our show. But yeah, Cincy, I think it's gonna be easy. I think they might blow them out. It might be like
I agree with
I mean,
you.
their offense has been. It's really like their defense has been what's killed them all season. This Cleveland team's not gonna score that much on them. So,
Tennessee and Indy.
Tennessee at Indy, yeah.
I got your boys winning this one.
Do you?
I have your boys winning this one because I know Tony Pollard is about I think
16 yards away from 1,000 yards.
Yep, and I think he needs, if I'm not mistaken, 50 yards to get his bonus. He needs like 1,000
the
plus,
incentive bonus.
Yeah, he needs like 1,000 some odd yards. I think they're gonna go. It's once again another matchup where both teams aren't really fighting for anything. I think Indianapolis is done. There's something about that team that they just do
They're
not.
They're broken.
They don't look the same. And it's crazy because Steichen, I think, is one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the NFL.
Yep.
Very, very smart. I don't understand exactly what's going on. It could just be. I'm gonna say I think it's personnel. I think it's the players that they have over there that they're very lazy, and he needs to change. He needs to change culture quick because if not, there's gonna be a hot seat over there for him for sure.
Yeah. No, it's Anthony Richardson hasn't played well.
I mean, you don't take yourself out of a freaking game and say that you were tired. Like that's.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, dude. You're playing a freaking game. Like you're playing a kid's game. And you're getting paid millions of dollars for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear it. Call timeout if you need to.
That whole thing, right there, their season was done when that whole thing happened. The decision to go to Flacco, and Flacco didn't play as well as he kind of did last year when he came in for an injured player.
Yeah.
And then they went back and. That whole game can be messy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think it worked a little bit for Bryce Young this year. That gave him a little bit of juice to kind of look like he deserves at least another shot here. But Anthony Richardson, I mean, he hasn't looked good. The team hasn't looked good. They have a lot of work to do in the offseason. Mm-hmm. That being said, I mean, I want to pick my boys, especially because I don't know if you saw Brian Callahan's press conference like a day or two ago. He was pissed because people were basically calling him soft.
He's been pissed all season now.
He went off on this reporter, so I don't know if the team has a little extra fight based on what happened on Wednesday. But I got Indy just because you know what, I picked Tennessee a few times this year and they burned me. And I'm not gonna do it again.
All right, we got Philly at Washington. Very, very good matchup. I'm actually extremely excited about this because Brian Robinson was talking some trash today. This is the thing. I think this Philly team is completely different than than last year's Philly team is obviously shown. Last year by this time they were like in a full collapse mode. Mm-hmm. This team is resilient. They have stars on every single level, even at the depth position when it comes to like the young guys that are on this team. We don't have any major injuries that are out there at this time of the season. Nobody's really healthy at this rate. So, I saw AJ. He's going to be playing, so mm-hmm. I'm excited for that. Saquon, I know he has a little bit of an ankle injury. It's nothing like crazy, but I think they're gonna be cautious with obviously having him as the
take his snap count down a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Go out there more.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's been averaging, if I'm not mistaken, 25 carries a game, 25 to 30 carries a game. So I think what we can do is bring him back down to about like 15, probably. That'll be good. I got Philly winning this one. I think it's going to be a tight matchup still, just because it's a divisional game. And I know that us going into Washington, they want to. After that last game, they want to go ahead and beat us. So they're gonna try to come after us with all the tricks and trades that they have. I personally just think that B-Rob just spoke too soon. Boy, you don't give a team bulletin material, and him saying we know we're a better team and that we're going to give them all we got, and I'm like, come on, dude, like really, you're really thinking that you guys are a better team. Last week didn't show that there's levels to this thing, people were talking about how Pittsburgh, it was like the past few weeks, everybody's like, Eagles matchup, this matchup is going to be a big test for this. This matchup's going to be a big test for that. it was always a test, and I'm like, are we the test or are they the test? Like really, it should have been like, no, Pittsburgh has a test against Philly. Right. If Pittsburgh wins, then that says more about them than Philly.
I know what you
mean.
Everyone wants to doubt you.
Everybody's like constantly doubting the Eagles. We're figuring out a way to go ahead and win a game. Everybody said, oh, they're a run heavy offense. They don't pass it. Jalen went ahead and showed you guys that he can go ahead and do that. And literally, when I saw the yards for AJ and Devontae, I almost feel like last week's game was Jalen's fuck you game to the whole entire commentators. AJ had 8 catches, 110 yards receiving in a tutty. Devontae had 11 catches, 111 yards receiving in a tutty. You don't think that he's like keeping track of those and like, oh, you got the last catch, let me go ahead and pass it to you. It's becoming comical to me that he's just going out there. He's able to figure out a way to pick apart a defense. No, I don't think he's perfect. I do think that there's times that he has to, improve on certain things. Holding onto the ball sometimes is the biggest thing that I see, and I'm like, get rid of the ball, stop taking sacks sometimes that you're like 20 yards out or whatever, anything like that. With that being said, like I said, I think Philly wins against Washington. I personally don't think that the Eagles lose another game this season.
Yeah. No, I agree with that last statement. I do think the Eagles are going to win out. I think the game that they would have gotten the loss would have been last week. Mm-hmm. Washington, look, Washington, no matter what happens with this game and their season in general, they should have their head held really high. They've exceeded expectations and then some.
Yep.
To even, for a small time had a fraction of a chance to win the division. Mm-hmm. I think that's huge, and they're building something really special. Now, I think they're slipping a little bit towards the end of the year here, and some of it's on no fault of their own. They've had kind of a lot of injuries kind of happen. Obviously Austin Eckler, Noah Brown's done for the year. So different little things like that, which is like, that's always been kind of like what we said is like the personnel is a little on the weaker side. It's Daniels is doing his thing. McLaurin's playing out of his mind, running the football. Dan Quinn. I just think some of that's running out. Mm-hmm. And Jaden Daniels, as good as he's doing, he's a rookie. Mm-hmm. So I just think a game like this, pivotal game, they really do need a win.
Yeah.
I know they won by the skin of their teeth last week.
Yep.
But I just think Philly's too much right now. They're playing great football, and they're going to take advantage of a younger team.
Yep. If there's going to be another game, like going back to your point, last week would have been the game that we would have lost. But if there is going to be another game that we would lose, it would be this one. And
sure.
Honestly,
it's a divisional matchup.
Honestly, I'd be fine with it. If we lose it, okay, whatever. Bring yourselves back.
Think sometimes a loss like that.
Bring yourselves back down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
We have the last 2 games of the season. You get that nasty taste out of your mouth, and we keep the train rolling. So,
yep.
Arizona at Carolina. Do we need to really discuss this one?
Yeah, not too much.
Carolina is kind of like
they're being competitive.
They
give a run from their Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Yep. So like
they should have won that game personally.
I know.
I know. That should have.
And you know what, man? I earlier this year I really had a lot of opinions about Bryce Young, and like, do I think he is a franchise quarterback? Not necessarily. I'm not sure about that.
I agree.
Can he be a starter in the league? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a average to below average one. So it is a little bit nice to see him kind of just not look like a deer in headlights like he did in the beginning of the year. I do like their coach. I think that if there's someone that might be able to help them, it's someone like that.
Canales.
Yeah. There's not going to be many other situations that you're going to have a mind like that. So he better get to work. But
I am curious with Dave Canales going into next year, because honestly, I wasn't too high on him this year.
Okay.
The team that they had, I also feel like they didn't do really much to go ahead and like build up that team. I get it that they can't. probably nobody's really going to want to go to Carolina, but you got to throw some money at these people just to see if they'll budge. So I'm curious what they do in this offseason. If they bring some weapons over there to Carolina to build around Bryce Young, if he's going to be their quarterback next year. I could very well say this: if for any reason, if Sam Darnold does not re-sign with Minnesota, Carolina better bring him back, because that was their biggest fault. They should have never let him go.
He's going to get paid.
He is going to get paid from somebody, and I personally think
that's a good. You're right. Yeah, that's a good situation.
Well, I don't want to talk ahead of the schedule of what we got, because I know we're going to be talking about Minnesota, but I just think like he needs to find a home, and I think Minnesota needs to go and step up, and same thing with the Eagles. The Eagles need to step up and need to pay Zach Bond. I mean, you have Zach Bond as the best linebacker right now, rated linebacker in the NFL.
He's playing phenomenal, dude.
And
if you didn't know who he was, you certainly do now.
For Howie to not pull out that check right now, I'm like, dude, you better go ahead and get off your ass.
I think he's gonna stay.
I really, really hope so, because of the fact that the past few seasons, the linebacker that we've had that's played really well has gone elsewhere to go ahead and sign a big contract, i.e. Kaiser White.
I'll say this: Bond is outplaying both of them.
I agree.
So maybe in Howie's mind, that was the whole thing. It was like, they are really good players, but I know we can do better.
He fits the culture too. So, but yeah. So we'll see. We'll see with that. Arizona.
Back to Arizona. We have them winning. I think we'll talk later when we talk about the pictures here. But I think Arizona is a little bit of a sneaky team, and they're a team that can't be counted out quite yet.
I'm gonna count them out right now. Once again, just based off of personnel, I don't think that they have it to really compete with those teams that are above Arizona.
Yeah.
Especially like the Rams. Yeah. Seattle. Those are like the two teams I can think off the top of my head. Green Bay. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they can compete with any of those teams. So, but no, to your point, I mean they're another team going into next year. They should have some high hopes of,
they're in the right direction.
Yeah, they're in the right direction. Got Trey McBride, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. You still got Kyler and James Conner. I don't know if James Conner is going to be back next year.
They locked him up.
Did they?
Yeah, he got a two-year extension. So they got him. I think Trey Benson gives them a little something else too next year. They got to use him.
So I think they just need to continue to.
It's a defense.
Defense, well,
they need a lot of work.
Defense was pretty like solid earlier this year. Kind of fell apart. I mean, they got Buda Baker. I don't know why they don't ever like.
It seems like that relationship hasn't been good for a little while.
But they just need to trade him to go ahead and like flip that for somebody.
Like you need to trade the Phillies. You guys have your guys though.
That's I was gonna say with safeties,
like a year ago, maybe.
We're fine. Yeah. But yeah, so Arizona. I mean, I think this is going to be a game where they can just
settle down and get back to things. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Rams at New York Jets.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm so annoyed with the Jets. I'm so annoyed with Aaron Rodgers. I can't stand Aaron Rodgers at this rate. Like, I was a big fan of Aaron Rodgers in his whole entire career, but he has become more and more of just like a.
He's a diva.
He's a diva. He's like a fucking gnat that just bothers you at a freaking summer barbecue that you can't fucking get away from you. And I'm just like, dude, every time I see him on TV and he starts talking about the media this, media that, I'm like, bro, you're talking to the media. So how are you going to talk shit about the media?
I agree, man.
He's a head case, dude.
It's just, he's old news. Like everyone knows it. I mean, there's still, whether it's the Jets, there's probably another team out there that is still going to, take a shot on him and all. He'll go into the sunset on his terms, but he's done that team a big disservice.
For sure.
There's a lot of players that in management, like Douglas, guys like that basically their careers
Douglas might be coming back to Philly.
He should. I mean, that's how he can get back.
He was on the field last week with Howie.
Okay.
So there's rumors that he I don't know if he might be on it this year. Listen, when Joe Douglas was in Philly, I loved it. That man, him and Howie together, their brain when it came to like figuring out the money and building a roster, I mean, it was amazing. I loved it. So I'm hoping he comes back.
It's a shame because if you really look at what he has brought into the Jets, There's a lot of
talent. I don't think he's had much say though. I will honestly say that I think other influences were probably to play because Joe Douglas is no slouch. Joe Douglas,
like, well, that's what I'm saying. I just think some of those I'm talking about the draft. They have smashed the draft the last few years.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Gardner, Hall,
Quinn Williams.
What's his name? Even Michael Carter's a serviceable running back. I mean, there's even these late rounds. There's all these guys that they've done. So that whole situation is a sad. I've heard a couple of reports this week. People were saying, "Oh, they think Jets are going to play spoiler this week." No, I think the Rams are playing very good football right now.
Rams, I think, are going to be way ahead of them. Rams right now also are playing for a lot more than what the Jets are, and I think they're going to come out literally trying to smack the Jets right in their mouth. And listen, Puka. That man is unbelievable. Oh, yeah. Freaking just an amazing specimen on that field. So, nope, I got Rams.
Yep, likewise.
Giants at Atlanta. We got Penix this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I'm so shocked. I will say that I would have, with Atlanta, they should have just ride out the season with Kirk. Let Penix, continue the rest of the season on just watching and getting himself ready for next year. God forbid, I don't wish this upon him. God forbid he gets injured. Raheem Morris is gonna be on that shit list. I guarantee it. They're gonna be pissed off with that.
It is a little puzzling of a move because they're 7-7. I mean, they're not.
I think it's a desperate move.
They're not out of the play. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know Cousins hasn't been playing good. He a lot of turnovers. Mm-hmm. But it's. I agree. It's a little bit of a puzzling move.
Yeah.
That being said, I
still got Atlanta winning because
I have Atlanta winning because it's the Giants and I think Penix is probably gonna have a solid game. If this
will be a game that he can go ahead and start his career and kind of get some confidence under his belt because the Giants they're nothing. I mean, they just got embarrassed last week by Baltimore.
It's a great game for him for first NFL game for him.
And Giants are continuing to play for that number one pick.
Home versus arguably the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
So I got Atlanta. Atlanta's playing for a little something still.
Yep.
They I mean, that'd be something. Penix was the hero that won out for him, but I think is a win for them this week. Defense gonna help them. I think they're gonna play well.
Which their defense, I honestly thought that their defense would have played better this year. With the pieces that they have, I thought that they would have.
They have a lot of names.
Yeah, a lot of names.
A lot of names.
So, Seattle Minnesota at Seattle. I'm sorry. So this is going to be a really, really, really good game. I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say this will probably be the game of the week.
It could be. It could be.
Because Seattle right now is in first place. If they
No.
Green Bay? Oh, because Green Bay won last week, right? No, I'm sorry, not Green Bay.
The Rams are in first.
The Rams are in first place. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if the Rams win, then they'll stay in first. But it's just going to be not your tail, girl. Not your tail.
Hey.
It's okay. It's all right. But no, I mean, Minnesota going into Seattle, this is one of those things where it's like the weather could once again play a factor. Mm-hmm. Minnesota's a dome team. Going into Seattle, I don't know how Seattle's going to be this weekend, but
it's a tough game.
This one's really, really tough.
Tough game.
I'm going to go ahead and say Minnesota, mainly because their defense. I think their defense is a lot. I thought Seattle would have came out better last week against Green Bay, and I think that probably, hurt my hopes for them this year. I
lost all faith in them.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to go ahead and win that game. I think Minnesota, though, they go in Seattle. I think they win.
Yeah, it's a tough game. Could be game of the week, like you just said. I actually have Seattle. I think the loss last week was obviously huge deal for them. I think backs against the wall. They have to come out swinging. Minnesota's not going to make it easy for them.
Nope.
But I also do kind of think Minnesota's due for at least one, maybe two more losses this year.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they're a good team. I really do, but something about Minnesota I'm not completely convinced about yet.
I agree. I agree with you there because people were talking about it this week about how Minnesota should be in the talks with the Eagles and the Lions. And I get that they're really, really good. Their defense is really good. They have Addison. They have JJ. They have Aaron Jones. I simply say, I know I talked good things about Darnold earlier, but
I agree.
I think Darnold facing a defense like Philly or like Detroit, I think you're going to see a different Darnold probably.
That team reminds me of the team that Keenum played for.
Yeah.
That's how I view this Vikings team.
Yeah.
It's like
they're good. They're good.
Formidable.
Yeah.
But I just don't think they have it to go all the way.
And I don't know what and it could be just the
put your cone.
It could just be the with Darnold, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I still got them winning. I still got them winning against Seattle, so we'll see what happens this weekend. New England at Buffalo. This is another one that I don't really think that we're disagreeing on this one at all.
It's an easy one. Buffalo's going to do it. I wouldn't be
surprised.
Josh
Allen's looking amazing this year.
If Josh Allen was able to be out of the game by the fourth quarter or something.
If Josh Allen does some other crazy stat line where it's like the only quarterback to ever do, I'm going to be over and done. I'm going to be just give him the MVP of this, right? Like
he's playing phenomenal.
He's playing so
he
good.
really is.
Yeah. All right, Jacksonville at Vegas. Sloppy game, ugly game.
Yeah.
Not really happy about this one. But it is what it is. I'm right here with you where I think Vegas wins this one. I don't think Mac Jones does anything to
Mac. I got Vegas. Mac Jones played solid last week, but he's one of those up and down guys, and I think it's going to be going away here in Vegas. And you know what? Vegas defense has actually played pretty solid the last few weeks. I think that the team's kind of playing really hard for Pierce right now. I think once Devontae left, some of that turmoil kind of went with that. I know they haven't.
I know Pierce is probably not going to be back next season too. So
yeah. It's one of those things where I think these guys are just kind of playing hard for him to the end.
But it's also crazy because it goes back to continuity, and if they continue replacing coaches every single year, you're not going to have some type of continuity with that team. And
Pierce shouldn't have been hired. Honestly, to begin with, a big reason he got hired is because Devontae Adams, and then that whole thing blew up, and just You did it for a player that you guys didn't even know was going to be here, a year from now. So, that being said, I think O'Connell's coming back this week, which is a big reason I think he's a little bit step up from Mac Jones. So.
Yeah. All right, San Fran at Miami.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Two teams that we had, I think, high expectations for.
San Fran's still not out of it, but they just have way too many injuries. Miami, they could still fight their way into the playoffs, but I don't see that team being anything at all this year. I do have Miami winning this one because I think San Francisco traveling, cross the country, having all those injuries and things like that, I think that plays against them. I'm taking Miami. I think Miami wins this one.
I have Miami as well. I think that, we've talked about this. Miami home versus Miami away are two different teams going against, a banged up San Fran team. Debo, man, he has not looked good, man. They have a little bit of an issue on their hand because
he needs to go.
He looks like someone they need to move. Brandon Ayuk's going to be coming back from the ACL, who they just paid. I mean, I guess they're going to hold on to Jennings, but they just have they have a lot of things to figure out there. Yeah. I think the best thing for them is for their season to end, honestly, and just kind of
get on with the off season and figure out.
They have way too much talent to be. I mean, they're kind of out.
It's sad because what's his name? The coach, Shanahan. People were saying that he's on a hot seat, and I'm like, if he's on a hot seat, man, he's going to get hired quick by somebody because that man is another one that is an amazing, amazing coach.
I think there's. I mean, come on. I mean, they didn't have CMC. I mean, they lost Ayuk. I think you gotta give him a little bit of leeway here.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been competitive still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got Miami though in this one.
Tampa Bay at Dallas. Tampa Bay, I think, wins this one. So, I just Mike Evans and Baker, their rapport that they have is beautiful. Every time I watch Tampa Bay out there, I'm just like, Jesus, Mike Evans is first ballot Hall of Famer, amazing wide receiver. Dallas, they're not good. They're not good at all. I think Tampa Bay's defense is going to also bring Cooper Rush back down to earth. I do need Rico Dowdle to have himself at least another 100-yard game, so let's go Rico Dowdle. But yeah, Tampa Bay, once again, they are fighting to win their division. So I think they win this one.
Yeah, I think they're playing good football. Baker's playing as good as any quarterback in the league right now. Him and Evans are, on point with each other. Dallas, they've been hanging in to be in that hunt still, but they're not a good football team. They're another one. They got a lot to figure out in the offseason here. Tampa Bay, trying to lock in that division. I think they do it. They're looking strong here. I think it's going to be an easy win for them, honestly. Yeah.
And then the last game that we have, Monday night, New Orleans at Green Bay. Yeah. I really hate that they have this as a Monday night game. There's some times where I'm like, can't you guys just flex these games? Out. Like, I get it that the schedules are different already. Like, I guess they only flex the day of, like if it's like on a Sunday, but not like a Monday night game. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a game where I much rather would have had Minnesota and Seattle on a Monday night instead of having New Orleans at Green Bay.
Oh yeah.
I have Green Bay winning this one. Green Bay won. Just like with the whole topic of conversation, right now we're in playoff contention mode right now where people, like certain teams, are fighting for that division spot. Like they want to go ahead and win the division. I think Green Bay, they're just gonna win another one.
Yeah, no, I agree. Green Bay this is probably an easy one for them at home versus New Orleans. Backup quarterback is going to be playing for them. They're playing good football too. They really are. If it wasn't for who's in their division, they'd be winning most of the divisions right now.
Yep.
So they're definitely a team. We'll be talking about the outlook here in just a minute, but they're a team they're going to be in the mix. Mm-hmm. They're going to be a formidable team here.
Yep.
In the playoffs.
Well, that's our picks for the week, or for this weekend, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have next here is we're going to talk about what we have going on in the playoffs. So the current AFC picture that we have going on, you want to give them the AFC picture?
So right now, 7 teams make the playoffs. The way currently it would be is Kansas City, number 1 seed, 13-1. Buffalo, number 2, 11-3. Pittsburgh is 10-4 at the 3 spot. Houston's 9-5, rounding out the division winners, and then Baltimore 9-5, and then 9-6 each for the Chargers and Denver for the wild card situations. Teams that are in the hunt: Indianapolis, Miami, and Cincinnati, all 6-8. Now, based on some of the things we talked about, we see the records here in front of us.
I don't think that changes really.
I think who is in there currently remains in there.
Me too.
It could be slight musical chairs on where they just fall.
Where they place between Baltimore, Chargers, and Denver.
Yep, and I guess obviously this weekend here with Pittsburgh. So that's the movement, right? Yep. It's either Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and then the Chargers, Denver. That huge win for the Chargers then. Mm-hmm. Looking at this, they really needed that. If there was a team that I think would somehow, win out, for me, it's Cincinnati.
Cincinnati's the only team I think that out of that list that they could actually sneak in, but
if the things went their way. Yeah. But no, I think
their defense is Swiss cheese, so I don't think that they're
No. And I just don't think Denver and the Chargers, they're not going to lose 3.
Yeah.
I guess two in a row here. Right. So I probably say this is actually how I think it remains. I think the way it is exactly that, because I have Pittsburgh winning. Mm-hmm. So then that's for me. that they stay there.
Yeah.
Baltimore, I think, will do just enough to keep the 5 spot, and then I think based on that win, the Chargers are gonna maybe edge out Denver here.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I have changing obviously is the Pittsburgh and Baltimore one, but no, I mean, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think everything else pretty much stays as is.
Now, that being said, the 1 and 2 seeds are really who I think are the.
It comes down to what happens this weekend.
Yeah.
KC loses, that puts a lot of fire on them. Buffalo wins, then they get a little bit more confidence boost for these last 2 games of the season. It's this weekend's going to be very very interesting. Saturday night's going to be good.
Yeah. And then the NFC here. So you want to do that?
Yeah, we got NFC here. So we got the number 1 seed right now with Detroit. Philadelphia is number 2. Tampa Bay at number 3, 8-6. The Rams 8-6 as well at number 4, rounding out the division winners. And then number 5 we have Minnesota at 12-2, and then Green Bay at number 6 at 10-4, and then Washington at 9-5. This is one where, again, this weekend is going to really tell what happens between like the Rams and Seattle. I really think that the Rams aren't going. I don't think they're going to lose to the Jets. It's gonna. I also don't know off the top of my head on the tiebreaker between Seattle and the Rams, so I don't know like if there's something in there in the last few weeks of the season that's gonna play into a factor, but. With the way that that's looking, Detroit has a lot harder of a schedule than Philly does for their last three games of the season. I don't want to say that they're going to be the ones that are going to give up their number 1 seed, but I really could see something flipping between the number 1 seed between Detroit and Philadelphia. And it's going to come down, like, once again, if Detroit wins out, then they take it. But if for some reason they lose, and if we win out the rest of the season, which I predicted, then, I mean, Super Bowl comes through Philly. Or I should say NFC comes through Philly. I'm saying that I'm going to stick with it and say that this is how it ends up. Okay. Yeah, I want to say Philly's going to get the number 1 seed, but do me a favor, pull up Detroit's schedule.
Yep.
Because now I'm curious what their last few games are.
So they're going to play San Fran and Minnesota.
So that's what it is, the Minnesota game.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a divisional game. That's going to be, I think that's going to tell it all. That's going to tell it all. If they lose to Minnesota, they then go into the wild card. Minnesota will jump them into the number 2 seed, and Philly would go to number 1.
Wow, that would be what would happen, huh?
That would be insane.
So,
I didn't realize there was this much drama.
There's a lot that can happen in the NFC. There's a lot that can happen. So, going with what you were saying, Detroit and Minnesota have a face-off before the end of the year. Okay. Philly schedule, we know that. I think they're fine. They're going to go 2-1 at worst, right? I think 3-0. Tampa, I think they hold on to the division. Atlanta, I just think somewhere along the way here, they're just not going to make up a game, and I'm pretty sure Tampa has a tiebreaker. Rams, so that divisions are very interesting. The Rams play both Seattle and Arizona before the end of the season.
Okay.
So that was one of the reasons I was saying Arizona's not total. They're not out of it. That being said, so I have Seattle winning this week, right? Okay. I have the Rams winning this week, and then I have Minnesota losing, right? Because we're playing Seattle. So I ultimately think Lions hold the division, but the Eagles take it, the number 1 seed. Because I do think that they will lose to Minnesota, but I have Minnesota losing this week.
Okay.
So that's where
I see. We're saying that they would stay at number 5, and then Detroit would just go down to number 2. Philly would go to number 1. I see what you're saying. Okay.
So I have Philly, Detroit, Tampa, Rams, Minnesota, Green Bay, and I want to say Washington holds on.
Yeah.
But I think it's either Arizona or Seattle that could sneak in there over them.
I would say Seattle would be the team that I think could sneak in over them. Once again, I think Washington, though, they have a very easy schedule outside of Philly.
Right.
I mean,
they have to go 2-1.
Yeah.
They can go 2-1. I think they hold it.
Yeah.
And they're good. It's gonna be that. This is gonna be fun. See what happens here. So we have San Francisco and Dallas in the hunt here, but they're not. They're just mathematically not out of it. So this is a big week for Thins. Really, it really
Huge
is.
Week.
Big for Minnesota and Seattle. Huge for Philly and Washington. And honestly, I mean, just for a team in the hunt, Atlanta's got to get this one. Atlanta has to get this one.
And I don't think that they will. I don't think that they will. That team, I think, they're gonna have to go into the offseason. They have to look back, and they have to build a stronger team. And I think it's gonna come down to building depth. You got to draft some good players. Yeah. Stop going after names in the league, and so let's see what happens. Well, one hell of a weekend.
Yeah.
One hell of a weekend that we have to look forward to. I'm excited for this one. We are back in action, guys. We're going to do our best to go ahead and get you guys, an episode back on it, every single week.
Yeah.
We'll touch on the NBA at some point. Right now, our Sixers aren't giving us any room to even want to talk about them or even look at the NBA.
A little bit of avoidance on our end. But
yeah.
We'll get there.
In due time. But everybody, have yourself a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas. Happy Holidays to you and your family. Stay safe this weekend.
Yep.
If you're drinking, don't drive. Order an Uber.
Yep.
If you're having sex, wrap it up.
That too.
Anything else we need to go ahead and tell people to be careful with? Look both ways before you cross the street. Anything else? Color in the lines. Don't color outside the lines.
I think my man's got it.
Okay.
I think he's on top of it.
No, we're happy to be back, guys. We'll have this episode out for you guys before this Kansas City game on Saturday night. But you know what we always say: if you ain't doing anything, crack yourself a cold one. Cheers, buddy.